Super Centex podcast with DJ, Chad, and Brice back again. How are y'all doing?
Pretty good. Had a slow
Fantastic. I mean, it's October 30th. It's windy, humid, and warm, so it just doesn't get any better than that.
That's a good call. It is very windy and very warm.
I don't know. It's not necessarily humid, but it's not humid either, which I don't know how it managed to be humid and windy, but kind of the feel out there, I think.
Thank you for the weather report. And we've already cleared this up, but DJ is not rocking a Los Angeles Dodgers jersey. It's Jalisco.
Go Charlos!
There you go. There you go. Which I think there's about 1 million restaurants in Texas with Jalisco in the name.
Jalisco, yeah.
Yeah. So guys, it's been quite a painful season here in Central Texas, as we could create a pretty salty Super Centex All-Injury Team. So just a sampling of those guys that are currently dealing with injuries of probably varying degrees. Midway's Cash Pullin, Donovan Jones, Carlos Talton, 3 pretty good players for the Panthers right there. University has had London Smith and J.D. Bell out in recent weeks. Whitney, they lost Jontae Johnson for the year. China Springs, Matthew Battles is dealing with an injury. And of course, DJ, I think, was there the night Levi Leathers got hurt for Axtell.
West also is missing Klish for the rest of the year.
Yeah, there you go. That's another tough loss. Of the guys that are on the shelf, is there one who is like most indispensable? And if he were to come back, is there one that sort of like immediately raises the playoff chances for his particular team? Who would you say?
Well, when I initially looked at this question, I mean, of those teams, and I guess, China Spring needs more than one player back, but I mean, they can get a win against Lorena and still have, make a run to playoffs. But a lot of these teams are still going to make the playoffs. University, Axtell, Midway, still have really good chances. Whitney, the thing about Whitney is they're just so young, and I think
we're young, Chad. We're young. It's a little Kim Mulkey.
Real Kim Mulkey impression. So I don't know. I think maturity is an underrated factor in football, and team maturity and team experience and savvy and know-how. And so I think that's probably more so than missing a star running back. It's maybe what separated Whitney so far. So I guess I'll go with China Spring on this answer, but ultimately, all these other teams, their body of work and their depth has been good enough to overcome these injuries, which is pretty amazing, especially when you look at how important London Smith and J.D. Bell are to University.
So DJ has the baseball jersey on, but you're throwing the curveball because you sat there and talked about Whitney, and then at the end you said, I'm going to go with China Spring as my answer. So there's a little bit of a curveball at the end. I thought your answer was going to be Jontae Johnson, but I think that he would be my answer. It seems like when he got hurt.
Right, is when they kind of fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DJ, what do you say?
Yeah, well, I feel like my answer is a combination of both because, I mean, Whitney, yeah, they're young and for sure, but they do have a lot of talent. And I think the combination of losing Jontae Johnson and the youth and being in a more competitive district against other teams that are sort of going through some of the same things as they are in terms of, youth and just getting used to new competition and all of that has definitely been part of why they've, I guess, fallen off a little bit this season. And they're going up against Groesbeck, who's the other winless team in their district. So One of those teams is going to be out of the playoffs after this week. Um, and
And I
then with
think you wrote it in your column a couple weeks ago, your rewind column. There probably won't be a better, certainly in 3A, there probably won't be a better district that has like teams missing the playoffs.
yeah, yeah, because I feel like Whitney and Grosbeck are both playoff worthy teams that are playing against, other playoff worthy teams. So
Hmm.
the four teams that make it out of this group are gonna probably beat the daylights out of anybody in the bi-district round
Mm.
because I don't think they're gonna be seeing competition of the same level, at least in the first, couple of rounds. And with China Spring, I, there are other factors other than just losing Matthew Battles that have kind of contributed to their season not going like other years have gone. Um, but going into the last two games, which are must-win games with a backup quarterback who I think who was it that covered the game that he got injured in? Was it Levi?
I think it was
Or
Levi, yeah.
yeah. And him saying, he wasn't really throwing the ball a lot. You're gonna need that. You need to have a bit of a balanced offense to go against Lorena. Because if you're going up against a defense that has, these big guys like Seth Taverner and Jackson Blackwell, I don't know if he's gonna be back for this game, but like if he
That's
is,
another guy on the all-injury team is Jackson
yeah.
Blackwell, right?
Yeah.
Um,
They mentioned him last Friday.
Mm.
but and then Joey Irie and some of these other guys, um, obviously I don't know, like you have to have more than just the run game when they have a strong veteran, front on the defensive line. Like for all of Lorena's troubles, I don't think that has been an issue for them. Um, so yeah, I feel like they could really use a guy like Matt Battles that's really scrappy
Mm.
on the run, but that can also throw the ball. Um, I don't know, maybe they pull off a miracle and we're all wrong, but
This is something I was thinking going into the season. I was thinking of it more in terms with college football, but it applies here too, and it's like a sobering thought for all the fan bases, right? To all everybody that's a football fan. I just thought to myself, make a list of your 10 best players on your football team, right?
Hmm.
And just understand that three of them at some point are going to get injured and be out for the season. Three of them are going to miss time with injuries, and three of them are going to make it all the way through, right?
Right.
And then that 10th guy, he might be the variable that makes or breaks your season, right? Or who are those three that miss, but it's not a scientific, it's just a thought experiment more than anything. But it's true though, right? It feels accurate to me.
Well, it's not like we don't understand that football has a lot of injuries. I mean,
Mm.
this is part of the game. It's a violent game. Um, Even as rules have tried and equipment have tried to curtail some of that. But um, I don't remember a year quite like this one with so many star guys that have suffered injuries. And I don't know what to say about that other than it's probably just a fluke thing, that they just kind of all piled up at once. But yeah, unfortunate to say the least. So guys, we have some pretty interesting district showdowns this week. At least in my mind, there is a clear favorite on paper in these matchups, but the underdog has at least a puncher's chance of winning. We'll see if you agree. I'm talking about La Vega and Conley, Fairfield and Palestine Westwood, and then University and Brenham. Cubs are state ranked. Palestine Westwood is state ranked. La Vega, meanwhile, not state ranked, even though we pitched for them last week. So let's talk about those three games I mentioned. How close do you expect these games to be, and which of the underdogs has the best shot? Chad, you look like you have a comment teed up.
I do. I feel like I feel like I'm at the Mad Max point of the football season, right? Like I feel like we're in just like this apocalyptic wasteland, and I'm just trying to, we're just trying to survive. You mentioned all the injuries, and like I'm looking at these matchups, and I'm like, I'm not seeing any hope there. I don't see the hope for the underdogs, right?
Oh
Because
man.
I'm just like, let's just get through the
I think
football
those
season,
I think
right?
those challengers are better teams than you're probably giving them credit for.
I will say this, talking to Coach Johnson yesterday, because I went out to university to work on my feature story for the week. They're expecting to have both London and JD back. I
That's
think,
good news. Yeah.
I think London went out at the Belton game and they just didn't see a reason why they should put him in the Waco game and
Hmm.
risk, him making it worse. And I think that the same thing was they made the same decision with JD. They wanted to have everybody in a good spot going into this Brenham game. So,
That's
um,
probably a good call because no offense to Waco High, but it's not like this is a mystery. University did not need London Smith and JD Bell last week. It was 50 to freaking 3, you know?
Well, now let me backtrack on my Mad Max comment, right?
Okay. Double down on your analogy.
That was a statement of how I feel about things in picking this game, and especially in trailing Brice by 16 games in the pick scene.
Yeah.
That's how I like my world perspective has been thrown into this Mad Max state now. But that doesn't mean like Connally has been a solid football team for a lot of this season. Can they go challenge La Vega? Sure, absolutely they can. Fairfield has the area's leading passer, right?
Hmm.
And Palestine Westwood, they only beat Tig by a touchdown. So uh, you can see a chance there. University, they rise up and have their game of the year. They might be able to knock off Brenham and make that district race very interesting. So I realize there is hope. I'm just not feeling it.
I understand. So answer the dadgum question. Who's your pick out of those
Oh,
three?
Connolly is the closest challenger out of that bunch,
Okay.
to, in my mind. Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha. DJ?
I want to give university,
Hmm.
my faith,
Hmm.
but like we said, there have been a lot of games where even when they had all their good players on the field, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot. So if they play the cleanest game of the year, they can definitely beat Brenham. But I'm gonna have to agree with Chad that Connolly probably has a little bit better chance to beat La Vega just because, it's gonna be a super athletic matchup. Both teams have incredible athletes, a lot of talent, and it's the rivalry of the year, right? Like it's the rivalry. Like we talk about, some of these other, teams that are rivals within the district. I think, the Robinson-Lorena game was the closest in this district to like being this level of hype just because they hadn't played each other in so long. But these guys play each other every year, whether they're in the same district or not, right? They're 5 minutes apart. Everybody knows
Mm-hmm,
everybody. All the kids know, cousins are playing against cousins. You got
mm-hmm.
aunts and uncles on both sides, grandparents. Um, from I think it was maybe my second game that I covered for the Trib was the Connolly La Vega game that Connolly just beat La Vega, right?
Mm.
And it was intense and it was exciting and it came down to the wire. So I feel like especially now that it's a district matchup and there's a little bit more riding up, maybe not so much for La Vega. Like if La Vega loses this game, it's not gonna hurt their chances of getting in the playoffs. And like we said last Friday, they're not focused on a district championship because they want to make a playoff run more than anything. Obviously, they want to be Connolly, but I feel like Connolly has more riding on this, so they definitely have a better chance at like being focused on that.
I think that's true, but I think the rivalry game is great for La Vega because I think last week they reached down and shifted this thing into a higher gear, and I think we're about to see La Vega take off.
That may be true. It was also
It,
I tend to agree with DJ that it'd be interesting. I would have to go back and look at our questionnaires from the start of the year to see how all the La Vega kids picked the question, how they answered the question of who's our biggest rival. Um, because I think for a lot of us that follow Central Texas football, we might say La Vega China Spring is a bigger rivalry. It certainly has produced a lot of incredible moments over the years. I wouldn't be surprised though if a lot of the La Vega kids said Conley for some of the reasons that DJ mentioned.
Well, Vegas also lost the last two games, so I feel like that may be the edge
Mm.
that they get. But I mean, just going off of their last basketball matchup, which got a little testy after the game ended, um, I gotta say this is probably gonna be the biggest game of the week.
All right, so I am going to be the contrarian, and I'm going University as the best shot to maybe pull off the upset. Uh, as y'all were talking it out, I could hear the points being made for Conley. I thought we sort of glossed over Fairfield and Westwood, but Chad makes a great point that Westwood only beat Teague by a touchdown. But um, here's the thing, especially if they have London Smith and JD Bill back. Um, so Brenham is very, very good. Obviously, they're seventh in the state. They got a running back who's being recruited by everyone. Well, guess what? University has two really good running backs, and a good quarterback who just seems to be growing by the week. Excellent crop of receivers, some talent on defense, a good offensive line. I think and they're like really tired of hearing about, we need to play a clean football game. I think they made some steps in a big way in that regard. If they go out and play their game, they're gonna give Brenham a game, and that is coming
From
from
a Brenham Cub alum.
Brenham High School class of
I
'91.
was about to give you a pat on the back for going against the alma
Yeah,
mater.
yeah. Here, you want our senior class chant? It was beer is good, sex is fun, senior class of '91. So
All right.
there you go.
Back in the permissive 90s.
Oh man, I that was my class for sure. Okay. So, on multiple occasions this season, Gatesville coach Aaron Hunter has referred to his senior running back Rayshon Smith as the most underrated player in Central Texas. I've heard him say it to me. He obviously has told other people that because one of I can't remember who covered. I guess it was Levi mentioned it last week on the podcast. And he may very well be right. Um, so I'm calling this the Rayshon Smith appreciation post. You guys have seen him play.
I
Uh,
haven't.
okay, I was wondering that. I thought maybe you had.
Not this year. Not this
Not
year.
this year. Okay,
Yeah.
you saw him last year.
I don't remember that. I don't think so.
You'll
All
see him
right.
this week.
I will see it. In fact, I get a great running back matchup this week. Number
Yeah.
one and number two rushers in Central Texas.
Well, let's start
By
with
the
DJ
numbers.
then. What do you feel like makes Rayshon Smith special, DJ?
Uh, Gosh, I feel like there are a lot of things. First of all, he's a giant. He's really tall. And I feel like he's been really tall the entire time that like I've been watching him play since he was a sophomore. Um, he's just one of those guys that, uh is hard to stop, right? Like he's just really tough. He puts his head down and works. And they've had to rely on him a lot as, a senior, especially because like last year, they at least had Lawson Mooney there, right? And
Mm.
some other guys. And obviously this year you still got Amos Phillips as a receiver, but they haven't relied too much in the passing game. That's kind of been a thing that they've developed slowly. So they really have had to rely on him a lot. Um, and I feel like he takes that very gracefully. And like, I mean, like you said, I know when I talked to Coach Hunter after I covered their La Vega game, when I talked to him last week before the China Spring game, he said it to me again, nobody's flies under the radar like Rayshon Smith. And I don't know, it's hard to really put into words what makes that kid special. You just have to go and watch him.
I like it. Chad?
Really looking forward to seeing him play. Although they're playing Robinson, and Robinson's probably going to want to have a get back game, get back to where they were before they lost to Vega last week. So he's going to be going against a tough defense. I would really, I don't have a rooting interest in this district, but I would really like to see Gatesville make the playoffs again. And that's not saying there's anybody I would like to see them bump out. But, if they don't make the playoffs, he's probably going to get to about 1,600 rushing yards, and then probably get passed by a few people in the playoffs in terms of being – but he'll still have a really good chance to make Super Centex. To make the Super Centex team. That's going to be an interesting pick when it comes right down to it. If they don't make the playoffs and we're trying to figure out if he should be a Super Centex teamer, first teamer or not, right?
Yeah, and I think we just need to remember like what he did and what he was for that team.
Right.
We need to make a mental note of it right now. I'm going to run through his numbers real quick because we do Stats Plus every week, and a lot of these schools have their stats on Max Preps. Gatesville actually sends us a spreadsheet, very nice spreadsheet. And so I don't know if y'all have been looking at updated numbers, but he is currently the Central Texas leader in rushing. He has 183 carries on the year, so he's getting the ball a lot, as to DJ's point. 1,363 yards. He's averaging 7.7 yards a carry, 18 touchdowns. He has a long of 73 yards. And, what I really am impressed with is, all these teams know he's going to get the ball, and he's just very consistent week to week. He just keeps going out and producing and, 150 to 200 plus yards. So that's impressive.
Well, and if you're in Gatesville's position right now, everything is kind of in front of you. You play Robinson this week, and Gatesville and Robinson might be kind of similar. Now, Robinson's had a better season, right? But, there's just nothing that tells you that Robinson's going to go win this game by 4 touchdowns automatically. So Gatesville's got a fighting chance. But even if they don't pull off the upset in this one, then they've got Connally in the last game of the season. And it's going to be between Gatesville, Connally, and the China Spring-Lorena winner for the 4th playoff spot, right? And so Gatesville's got that chance. So they have every reason to keep playing, to the very end.
Yeah, for sure. So Chad kind of referenced it earlier. I have gotten a lot of predictions right this year. I like to mention that.
I'm just way down. I mean, you credit to your picking, but I'm usually at 78%, right? In that neighborhood, and I think I'm like 8 percentage points below that. So I'm way off. Way off.
Well,
I just don't understand this younger generation.
One prediction I did not have coming into the season was that going into week 10, China Spring-Lorena would be a combined 3-13, and would be fighting for their playoff lives. As Chad said, it's really probably the China Spring-Lorena winner that stays alive. In fact, China Spring would be eliminated from playoff contention if they lose this week. Lorena has one win coming into this. I was trying to figure out if they would still be alive. Certainly their hopes would be on life support with a loss. And
then play with Vega next week, right?
Right, exactly. So who wins the Desperation Bowl? What do you say?
Now, this is a very Halloween, macabre, gory question, Okay. Like last year we did a Halloween costume.
Yeah, we did. Right? That was fun.
I'm so glad that I don't have to wear that wig this year.
between the Mad Max answer and just this just gruesomeness, because it was not very long ago that we were at Jerry World with both these teams playing the state championship game.
That's a good point.
you know. Um, and it kind of speaks to the wacky nature of this season and what it's been. I picked Lorena in this game, and a lot of it has to do with what DJ had mentioned, going through the pieces that are missing for the teams, and what kind of Lorena has kind of stayed competitive. They've only found a way to win a couple of games, but I think that they're a little bit closer to their fighting chance thing where I don't think China Spring has given up, and I would definitely, when I talked to Tyler Beatty after the La Vega loss, he said that the when China Spring lost to La Vega, he said he was glad to be a part of that locker room and fighting with those guys, and I'm sure that's true. But I just feel like maybe Lorena is a little bit closer to kind of who they are um, as a team with some fight left in them.
DJ?
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely, you know, the that final spot, that fourth place spot is gonna come down to Lorena and Gatesville. And Lorena beat Gatesville. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're gonna want to win this game. And if they can't work some magic against La Vega, they're going to hope that Connally gets the win over Gatesville at least. Um, a lot of the coaches that I've talked to, uh, obviously we've got 2 weeks left, and yeah, the playoffs are in the back of their mind. They want to focus on what's in front of them. Um, so I mean, really, yeah, I don't know. I think after Brownwood beat China Spring, I kind of was like, this is probably not gonna be their season,
Mm.
right? Um,
It wasn't just that they beat them, but just how
the
badly, really.
yeah, how bad they beat them and how bad Brownswood had lost the week before to La Vega. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well,
um,
um, so it sounds like you're going with Lorena, right?
yeah, yeah. Like I said, that they have younger, like both of these teams. I haven't watched them since like the first 2 weeks of the season, but following along with like the results, everybody else that's watched them, I feel like Lorena does have a little bit more of that spark going into these last two games.
Well, then I'm going to be the contrarian again because I've already made my pick, and I did pick China Spring, and went with the Cougars for a couple of reasons. One, playing at home. That's not always as huge a factor in high school football. I mean, I think the better team tends to win, whether it's the road or the home team. But uh, I just feel like that is a very proud program. Not that Lorena isn't, but and um, this is probably their best chance to get a district win. And the fact that they can still put themselves in the mix, as rough as it's been, I just feel like there's something to desperation. That is a fragrance that that works in football. Desperation.
Uh,
Splash it on, and yeah, and just go to work. We saw it work for Jaden Daniels on a Hail Mary. So
oh, that was a great play the other
oh
night.
my gosh, friggin' play of the weekend for
I
sure.
tell you one thing about that game. I imagine the Gatesville Hornets want to see China Spring rise up and get that district win,
There you go. Yeah, that
because
would.
that makes it. I mean, that makes it to where they beat Connally and they're in the playoffs.
There you go. Yeah.
And gosh, wouldn't it be weird though? Like if China Spring wins that, and then Lorena, Gatesville, and China Spring all end up with one district win. One of those teams makes the playoffs somehow.
Yeah.
That'll be a conversation for next week if we get
There
that.
you go. You have
We
to
get
figure
that
the
possibility.
point differential or whatever it might be. Figure it out. Uh, you know, I have a lot of respect for Tyler Beatty and Kevin Johnson as coaches. I bet they've got some schemes devised for this game, just some stuff where it's like, okay, we're struggling. Let's throw something on the wall and see if it sticks, I mean, like let's try something,
Mm-hmm.
and So I think that is gonna like low key be a pretty good game this week. So we'll see how it plays out. Chad, you already mentioned you'll be experiencing the joy of the Gatesville press box.
Yeah, and you know what? I had my annual doctor's checkup on Monday, which couldn't come at a worse time.
True,
You might want
true.
to bring an extra stool or something, just in case. Because when I went there, like the
Oh
food was
yeah,
worth it, but it was a really tight
No,
fit.
it's
but
And
I always remembered it being very crowded.
but DJ, you've forgotten my skill set.
oh, right, you're gonna be in the field.
Yeah, you're gonna be so you're just gonna get your plate and then go to the sideline.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Well,
I'm gonna take a
hopefully
wagon like the TV people do, and I'm just gonna take all the food and put it in the wagon and just walk up and down the sideline eating food.
that's funny. I like it. Your own rolling buffet cart. Well, hopefully that does not you know, permanently scar your system for Monday's doctor's checkup. Uh,
Yeah. I'm just gonna say, look, Doc, I went to Gatesville on Friday and they had a big buffet, so that's throwing off my numbers.
right. Who are they playing again?
Robinson,
Robinson, yes. Okay. And of course, Rockets looking for a bounce back game after losing to La Vega. And then DJ, you will be at.
I will be in West for the Zebras versus Trojans matchup. So, I mean, Chad's probably not going to be the only one trying to recover from, uh, some good
DJ will be
food,
sitting there with a big box of
is
kolaches.
big
the other
box of
good place to
kolaches.
go. Right.
Yeah, still trying to decide if I should go to Check Stop or get Garrick's because I mean, I like both. I know people have a preference. I kind of just go with whatever's the
Honestly, Slovacic's across the way has this big kolache with like an Eckrich sausage or that or like a jalapeno
Well,
sausage
they're
in it.
known for their sausage.
Right, and jalapenos and cheese and everything. It's delicious.
And we just had a story in the Trib about the Village Bakery opening back up. So what you could do, DJ, is like just go to all of them and get like one kolache at every place, and then like give us a report on that. That's a winning idea.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll
We'll see
be
if I
I'll
yeah.
be I'll be down in Bryan for the Midway Bryan game. Of course, the Panthers looking to um, try to figure out something without Cash Pullin.
Andrew Air McNair, baby.
Air McNair. Somehow I bet it'll be more likely be ground and pound with Lathan Wissington, but um,
Yeah, he had 115 yards last week in the win over Killeen,
mhm.
despite not really playing in the second half. So,
Yeah, he's good, man. He's really good.
yeah.
All right, well, we'll talk about it more on Friday night. Good to see y'all.